I am 8.5 months pregnant and driving sucks. So my mom drives me around because my husband works massive hours to get ahead before the baby comes. Last month, she drove me to my favorite chocolate store, and I stocked up on my favorite flavors. The store has dozens of flavors of chocolate, individually wrapped in colorful foil, so you can tell the flavor. The store is about an hour's drive away from our home. My husband knows my favorite flavor. Half the bag was originally that flavor, but by now, it's just even with the others. He came home from work yesterday, and after supper, we were going to sit and watch TV. I waddled over to the couch and asked him to please bring me 2 of my chocolates. He did, and he grabbed a few for himself. No problem there. He came back to the couch with chocolate in his mouth when he kissed me. I knew what flavor he took. He admitted he took the stracciatella ones, my favorite. I got kind of upset, and he said it was no big deal. I could go with my mom and get some more. Yes, this company sells its chocolates everywhere, but that flavor, I've only ever seen it in their store. I asked if he had been eating that flavor a lot, and his face told me everything I needed to know. I yelled at him that it wasn't easy for me to sit in a car for 2 hours. He said he would go out right now and replace them. He hit a couple of stores and a couple of grocery stores, but they all told him the same thing. So we drove across town and came back with a big bag of just that flavor. While he was gone, I called my mom, and she said I needed to calm down because my hormones were driving me crazy. I apologized to my husband, but he was still grumpy that he drove around for hours just to get me chocolate. I think he should know better than to eat my favorite flavor. I know this isn't as big of a problem as some other stuff, so am I the idiot? I'm sorry, but yeah, extremely gentle. You are the idiot here. I get that you're pregnant, but he's not maliciously being like, screw you and your chocolates. He just ate some, corrected his mistake, and got me a bag of just that flavor. Maybe take a moment to chill and come together later to set this aside and eat them together and relax. Not the idiot. What are you going on about? Whenever someone posts that their partner ate all their special snacks, the partner is the idiot. But because I'm pregnant, I need to be taught a lesson? My husband obviously knows those are my special snacks that I had to go far to get. And I'm not even able to drive myself, but he ate them anyway. If he didn't want to go get more, he could have picked them up beforehand, since he knew he was eating them all. He's the one who said he'd go out and get them that instant. I didn't ask him to. No idiots here. In a year, we'll both be laughing about Chocolate Gate. This is the real marriage stuff no one talks about. We're a team, we're hormonal. You're hormonal and pregnant. He went and got your special chocolate. I'd probably just start cracking jokes about it and say sorry for being a bit extra. However, during birth, remind him this is why I made you get me chocolate. Agreed? Also, please don't worry too much about the husband being grumpy. A lot of times I'm grumpy while having to do things for my fiancé. She doesn't understand that doing things grumpily is still an act of love and commitment. In fact, I believe that's the best kind of love and commitment, when you're tired but still want to make your partner happy. It's easy to love when you're happy, but it's harder and more valuable when you're going through tough times. I remember sobbing during my pregnancy over a discontinued brand of potato chips, and my husband came home with an unsuitable replacement. It was ridiculous, and years later we laughed about it. I'm sure you will too. Best wishes for a smooth birth and a healthy baby. My boyfriend 20 and I, female 19, have been dating for 4 years now. He was in 10th grade, and I was in 9th when we first got together. Our parents were always aware of our relationship. Interestingly, we used to live near each other and even went to the same kindergarten. My boyfriend's father was a single parent for a long time, and my parents got divorced 3 years ago. 3 weeks ago, I returned home. Since the university is in the same city, I still live with my mom, and that's when I saw her kissing my boyfriend's dad. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I immediately called my boyfriend and he came over. We ended up having a huge fight with our parents. They even brought up the topic of marriage on the same day. I asked to move into the dorms and haven't spoken to my mom since, except for a family dinner at my aunt's house. During the dinner, my aunt asked why my mom and I weren't talking. so I told them everything. I may have been harsh, but I was deeply hurt. My mom got embarrassed and started shouting about how our love was just young and why she shouldn't ruin her love life because we kids think it will last. I couldn't take it and ended up crying and leaving. My grandmother called saying how cruel I was. It's unbelievable how everyone is siding with my mom, except for my cousin. Am I the idiot? Was I too cruel? Not the idiot. You've been together for 4 years, and your mom crossed the line. It's strange that the whole family is supporting her bad choices. Although, if I were being petty, I would grab my boyfriend and go to the courthouse to get married, so we would be the first ones married, and in the longest relationship. Don't get married to spite someone. Holy crap. Many people are skimming over the fact that OP's mom believed it was okay because she thinks their relationship is fleeting and won't last. They've been dating for 4 years, mind you. OP's mom's relationship is newer than OP's. That's so disrespectful and ironic coming from OP's mom. OP has every right to feel uncomfortable. Everyone telling OP to grow up needs to understand that the mom could have chosen a billion other dudes to date, and she settled so quickly on her daughter's boyfriend's dad. Like, seriously? Hopefully someday your mom will understand your point of view. Even if the relationship doesn't last, imagine seeing your ex at every family gathering in the future, if the parents stay together. There's no way for this situation to end well unless the parents don't get together, which they shouldn't have in the first place. You are the idiot. Why is this a problem for you? Sure, it'll be a little inconvenient if you guys break up and don't want to meet each other and need to check who's visiting on which holiday. But on the other hand, if you don't break up, you don't need to visit 2 families on holidays. But your mom is in love, so being against her new boyfriend will only bring them closer, like teenagers. So with your attitude, you will not achieve anything. Just reduce the contact with your mom if it bothers you, but you can't dictate who she's dating. You need to understand that my sister, who is 30 years old, has cancer. She's a single mom of her teenage son. We were asked to take him in while she gets treated so we could help him focus on studying and provide a normal routine for him. My husband has asthma and needs his inhaler throughout the day. The thing is, my nephew is a prankster. He would hide the inhaler as a prank, then give it back as soon as there's panic in the house. So far, he's done it twice and thought it was just him messing around. The other day, my husband called me while I was at work, panicking, saying his inhaler was lost. I asked if my nephew had taken it as a prank, but he doubted it, since my nephew would give it back instantly after we panicked. I got home and we looked for it for hours, and had to go to the hospital eventually. When we got back, we found it sitting on the coffee table. My husband and I looked at each other, and the next thing we knew, my nephew was giggling upstairs. At that moment, I just lost it. I yelled at him and then told him he was no longer welcome in my house. He started panicking, and my parents called him to get to the bottom of what happened. But they still defended him, saying it was a prank, and that I had taken things too far by kicking him out while his mom was struggling. They insisted I take him back in, but I refused. Now, they're giving me crap about being unsupportive and making things more difficult for my struggling sister. They even blamed my husband for not keeping his things locked away. Did I make a hasty decision? It's all fun and games until someone dies from an asthma attack because the spoiled brat stole the inhaler. Your parents just don't want him. He's lucky you're not filing a police report. I mean, what kind of monster finds it funny that his uncle had to go to the hospital directly because of his actions? OP, drop him off at your parents' place unannounced. And when they inevitably call to protest, tell them that you kicked him out as a prank that hasn't yet come to fruition. Your husband should not have to keep his things locked away in his home, especially a medical necessity he needs several times a day. Your nephew is old enough to know better. This is not a harmless prank and he's repeatedly doing it. If he's acting out because he's scared for his mother, he should be in counseling. Your parents can look after him for a while until he gets it. My fiancé's family never held back on jabs about my nose. My fiancé said he knew they loved me the moment they started with the jokes. They're the kind of family that loves to make fun of each other. My grandparents used to make comments about my nose that were kind of crappy, especially because my dad is Jewish, although I've never known him and I got the nose from him. In general, I've tried not to be sensitive about it because they don't like sensitive people. Although my history with it, and knowing my nose came from my dad who I didn't know, made it a bit harder for me. My fiancé made this comment once, which was supposed to be joking and sweet, where he basically said he was so lucky for my nose because it was the only way he'd have a chance with me. That comment has stayed in my head since. The idea that I'd actually be beautiful if it wasn't for my nose. I've had really bad self-esteem and would go in and out of believing I'm ugly. I started thinking about having a nose job. After we got engaged, I realized if I was going to do it, I should do it before the wedding. He was supportive of the idea and excited about it. He made some comments about being glad I was losing the beak, something he'd never expressed before, suggesting it, which confirmed that I needed it. My fiancé loves my new nose. I hate it so much. I feel like I'm staring at someone else's face. I look like any other woman in the world besides myself. I've always struggled with depression, and I was finally in a good place before this. Now I can barely get myself to leave my room for work. My fiancé is really frustrated with me. He thinks I objectively look better, and I need to get used to it. I know I'll have to, but I've been wearing a medical mask in the house because I can't stand to look at my face. He says this is me sulking like a toddler, but I can't control how I feel. He asked what I would do for our wedding, and I told him I didn't want to be in any pictures. He freaked out, saying my selfishness would get in the way of us having a happy wedding. I didn't want to let this hurt him, so I tried to come up with options like wearing my veil, covering my face in the pictures, incorporating a scarf into the outfit, wearing my mask, etc. And he said if I did any of that, we might as well not get married at all. That hurt a lot. I can't stand to see myself in pictures like this, and having everybody see my nose the whole day would make this even worse for me. I'm already going to be blaming myself for the fact that I won't have my nose in the pictures. I feel like I'm ruining this day for him, but what he wants will ruin it for me. Am I the idiot? Honey, no. As a woman with Jewish heritage, I saw nothing wrong with your nose. However, there is something wrong with the man who's supposed to be the love of your life, insulting and allowing his family to insult the literal face you were born with. You don't need to know your father to realize that people who make fun of certain ethnic features are toxic. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Would you be okay with him insulting the features of any of your friends from different ethnic backgrounds? Of course not. You're too close to the situation to see that this is grossly abusive. The fact that he says your nose was the only way he had a chance with you is revolting, especially since you mentioned being bullied for your nose before. He's such an insecure slime ball. He exploited your nose to make you feel like you could only snag someone like him. Then once he had you, he used your insecurity further to make you change it. Now he's invalidating your feelings about having a literal piece of yourself forever altered. Please listen to me, OP. You need to break off this engagement and find yourself a good therapist who deals with emotionally abusive relationships, precisely coercion. He had already battered you down, and it will only escalate from here if you sign those papers. Also consider this. How would you feel, OP, if you have children and they inherit your and your father's nose? How will your partner and his awful family treat those children? It'll never get better, and you'll never be perfect enough. It's the sickest if you give a mouse a cookie storyline ever. Please leave an update. Thank you so much to everyone who has given judgment and advice. Everyone has been so kind to me at my lowest right now. I really need to get back into therapy. I'm trying to look into getting another nose job to reverse this, but I don't know if any plastic surgeon would be willing or able to give me my original nose back. And I'm terrified of getting surgery again. I just want to feel comfortable in my skin again. As much as I know, logically, I should be able to get used to this over time, I really don't feel like I can. Everybody is suggesting we should postpone the wedding, and I think that makes a lot of sense. However, I don't know how my fiancé will feel about that. I love him, but a lot of these comments are making me question our relationship. Comments are making me think more deeply about how he treats me. He's usually a very sweet and introverted guy, very smart, and always there for me when I need him. But he's not acting like himself right now. I have 2 sons with my ex-husband, Kay and Kale, who are both teenagers. We got divorced 10 years ago, and he remarried 3 years later. His new wife came with her own daughter, who is a tween, and a son, also a tween. The problems started during the first Christmas after the divorce, when my boys didn't go to their father's house with gifts that I had bought for them. I was told that I should have also bought gifts for their new step-siblings. This was just the beginning of what became a chaotic situation. To sum it up, my ex's stepchildren get whatever they want. My ex and his wife believe that my boys should share their belongings with their younger step-siblings, who always want everything. These step-siblings are also known to throw tantrums if they don't get their way, even to this day. My boys don't like them and hate going to their dad's house. There have been incidents where their belongings were broken by the step-siblings during a tantrum. And I can confirm this because I witnessed some of these incidents myself. The worst was during Cade's birthday. I threw a party for him and his friends, but my ex was supposed to have a separate celebration with him. However, he and his wife showed up with their kids, invited themselves to the party, and started poking at Cade's gifts. When Cade refused to give them one, they smashed them against the table we were sitting at. I had to get a staff member to intervene and make them leave us alone, all because they were told they couldn't have one of my son's gifts. I still share custody of my boys, and the judge won't allow them to spend less time with their dad. I mention this because I know it will be asked. Last week, during my parenting time with the boys, their step-siblings came to my house on Saturday, saying they wanted to spend time with their brothers. I didn't see any sign of my ex or his wife. When I asked how they got to my house, they said they walked. I told them they would have to walk back home. They asked again to come in, but I turned them away. My ex called me when they got home and yelled at me for turning the kids away. He said I let them go without knowing what would happen. On the other hand, I wouldn't have done it, but since they had walked to my house, I figured they could walk back. Plus, it just adds more drama. I have to wonder if my dislike for these kids led me to do something that makes me an idiot. Am I the idiot? Not in my opinion. They walk to my house so they can walk back. Also, how did the custodial parents not notice the kids going on a walkabout? Did they follow them on their walk to my house? Or did they just assume that bad things only happen on the walk back? I am keeping a record of everything and keeping my lawyer updated. At some point, custody may need to be revisited. Custody can be revisited, and a judge must listen to the children in the situation. And could something have happened to them on the way to your house? Please, eyes rolling. It sounds like the ex and his wife wanted some alone time and unknowingly and unwillingly volunteered you to be the sitter. Stand your ground with this, OP. Your sons need their peace at your house since they don't get it at their father's. I would try to go back to court, even if it means less visitation time with him, like just on weekends. Those step-siblings seem like horrible little monsters. I bet they were sent to your house by your ex and his wife because they can't even stand the brats anymore. Next time, call Child Protective Services to pick up the children that are not yours. They are not your responsibility.